I, Joseph Robinette Biden Jr., do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States.
Office of President of the United States. We're going to change the course of the country and, quite frankly, the world.
Gas prices in the U.S. have soared to a new record high.
Store shelves nearly empty of fruits, vegetables, beef and chicken, even some cereals, bakery and juice items hard to find.
Empty shelves from the cereal aisle to deodorant and paper goods, everyday items in increasingly short supply.
With inflation at a 3-decade high, experts say the cost of that Thanksgiving feast this year could be the highest in the holiday's history.
Ukraine is now a nation at war. Just hours ago, Russian forces began their attack.
3 U.S. defense officials tell NBC News the White House will send several dozen American tanks to Ukraine's military.
And the U.S. began its final withdrawal from Afghanistan today.
U.S. military equipment that they seized after we left it behind.
Thousands of Americans remained trapped in Kabul.
In Afghanistan, the Taliban say they're now in full control of the entire country.
Over 1.7 million undocumented immigrants were apprehended at the border over the last year, the highest total in American history.
Barreling through a blockade of Mexican police and National Guard.
This is deliberate. This is a decision that was made by President Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and congressional Democrats to open up the border to what is nothing less than an invasion.
A shocking news statistic from the FBI. Murders were up in the biggest increase since the Bureau started keeping those records in 1960.
Florida pastor is under arrest after refusing to stop holding large services.
Pro-life advocates in North Carolina arrested for praying outside of an abortion facility in Greensboro.
Second Amendment from the day it was passed limited the type of people who could own a gun and what type of weapon you could own.
Narrowly passing a ban on assault weapons for the first time since 1994.
But no amendment to the Constitution is absolute.
A Baltimore teacher flaunting how she is indoctrinating students on TikTok.
That the FBI did target protesting parents using counter-terror tactics.
China's President Xi Jinping making a veiled threat against the United States.
Homeless veterans who were staying at this hotel in Orange County were forced out with little notice to make room for migrants.
President Biden's decision to kill the Keystone Pipeline has cost thousands of American workers good-paying jobs.
The spending bill includes the hiring of over 87,000 new IRS employees.
Across the board, Americans are paying more for everything, including housing, groceries, and gas. To East Palestine in Ohio following that train derailment and subsequent controlled burn of many toxic chemicals, a lot of dead fish, dead animals, and sick people.
He was in the Ukraine giving millions of dollars away to people over there, not to us.
The president also said he'd visit East Palestine after the train derailment created an environmental disaster. That was 183 days ago, and he still hasn't stepped foot in the town.
How can we not respond? My God, how can we not respond to these needs? We are at an inflection point, I believe, in the world economy. And now is a time when things are shifting. There's going to be a new world order out there, and we've got to lead it.
Record high migrant crossings.
Supply chain shortages, the baby formula shortage.
Mask mandates.
The corona lockdowns.
Yeah, prices at the pump hit a new record overnight.
But if we go out and peacefully protest, they go, oh, look at them terrorists right there. You know, it's like, okay.
You know, it starts from within, and they know that. And they know that if you divide a nation and pit people against each other, that you can begin that process. And that's like on May 22nd, they're supposed to be having this vote of, I think it's 196 countries to pretty much sign over our health freedoms to the WHO.
Right.
So, and I just recently did a video on that, and some of the things that, people go, well, what does that mean? And what portions of that document state basically is that they can go in, let's say if they, determine there's an emergency here in the U.S. and they have to lock down, they're basically stating with this new legislation that they can override states' rights and federal rights. And then there are also documentation legislation being, signed by this Biden regime as well. So it is getting very, very sinister, in my opinion, because they are actually people just don't realize how much they're pushing this UN agenda.
Time has come for the world to move in a new direction. We must embrace a new era of engagement based on mutual interest and mutual respect, and our work must begin now.
And the president outlined his vision of a new world order in which the U.S. would participate fully.
And we are in the midst of one of the historic global transformations that is going to eventually lead to a new world order.
The Second Amendment, from the day it was passed, limited the type of people who could own a gun and what type of weapon you could own. The Second Amendment. No amendment to the Constitution is absolute. We should also ban assault weapons and high-capacity magazines in this country. We should also eliminate gun manufacturers from the immunity they receive from the Congress.
The Media Research Center released a devastating report today documenting the censorship of conservative speech by Silicon Valley's tolerant tech giants. Among the findings, claims from former employees that Facebook hides conservative content from the trending section were backed up by a detailed study. Google, YouTube, and Twitter partner with leftist groups like the Southern Poverty Law Center that hate conservatives. And check this out. Of the 25 members on the panel that guides Twitter's policies, 12 are liberals, and there's only one conservative. I can't believe there's one. Shocking, well, but not surprising, is it?
I will tell you that these are people who are sharing information on public platforms on Facebook, information that is traveling, is inaccurate. Our biggest concern here, and I frankly think it should be your biggest concern, is the number of people who are dying around the country because they're getting misinformation.
The truth is that misinformation takes away our freedom.
They now have an idea, and I honestly thought this was just a belated April Fool's joke, but they are actually going to create in the Department of Homeland Security a Bureau of Disinformation. It's basically a ministry of truth. And what they want to do is they want to be able to put out false narratives without people being able to speak out and fight back. They want to be able to say things like Russia collusion and perpetuate hoaxes and then have people like us be silenced. They want to be able to advocate for COVID lockdowns. They want to be able to advocate for school closures, things that are not supported by the evidence, but then when you speak out, they want to stifle dissent.
Attention. We don't want the media. Like, we don't even know
the big secret? Everybody knows it's happening. You know why?
Unvaxxed, unvetted people. He's flying them to New York, where now they can vote in local elections. They can go to college on my dime, right? They can work cash, drive down wages, and then they can hold up a liquor store with a gun, and then they'll only be charged with a misdemeanor, and then they can't be deported because it's a sanctuary situation. Well, now there's a lot of evidence that they're working together
This is foreign
to smuggle
interference.
people into the country. For what? Why? Why would they do that?
If it's for voting, then it's foreign interference in our
In
elections.
our elections,
In our
Greg, this is an attack on democracy.
Here's the question. What is Joe Biden trying to accomplish? Why is he doing this at night? Why is he doing this to us? But you know what? The Democrats don't believe in law and order. So here is a perfect example of what they're doing to destroy this country.
We'll begin in Harvey. Now, if you're familiar with Chicago, the area I went here in Harvey is around 153rd Street and Broadway. The South Side is known for murders and shootings and gangs. They don't measure shootings by year or by month in places like this. They're measured by the weekend. Last year in Chicago, there were almost 800 murders, and in Cook County, there were like 875 people who were killed by gunfire. It's not getting any better either. Last year in Chicago was the worst year ever for murders and gunfire. Shootings here were up by 50% last year, just like they are in many other inner cities in this country. There were 3,700 shootings in Chicago last year, which is more than 10 a day, and those are the ones that are reported. I don't know if I've ever been to a city that's as vastly run down, abandoned, and out of control as Oakland, California. It's a very ugly, rough, littered, dangerous place where the laws aren't enforced and the crime is staggering. I drove around Oakland for an entire day in late October of 2021 to see what it was like these days, and I don't recall seeing any part of the city that was welcoming, safe, or clean. This is the side of town where most of the homeless camps are located. Some look like something you'd see in Haiti, lean-to shacks made of recovered junk that serve as 4 walls and a roof, but that's just about it. Other areas just outside of downtown are home to hundreds of people camped out in makeshift shanties among piles of trash with rats. Parts of West Oakland don't even look like the United States.
That is why America will always choose independence and cooperation over global governance, control, and domination. I honor the right of every nation in this room to pursue its own customs, beliefs, and traditions. The United States will not tell you how to live or work or worship. We only ask that you honor our sovereignty in return.
And not only will we be judged by our people, not only will we be judged by history, but we will be judged by God.
In America, we don't worship government, we worship God.
We saw cold, hard evidence of the Trump campaign, indeed the Trump family, eagerly intending to collude, possibly, with Russia.
President Trump has just been impeached on both Article 1, abuse of power, and on Article 2, obstruction of Congress.
The second time in just over a year, the House delivering Donald Trump a historic rebuke, now making him the first president ever to be impeached twice.
The New York State Attorney General has now joined the Manhattan prosecutors' criminal investigation into Donald Trump's businesses tonight.
The FBI has executed an unprecedented search warrant at President Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate.
Former President Donald Trump has been indicted by a grand jury in New York.
Former President Donald Trump is staring down another round of legal trouble as a civil trial stemming from a rape allegation gets underway.
For the first time in American history, an American president has been indicted on federal charges. The indictment stems from the classified document case.
That's really bullshit.
This is like communist level shit. This is stuff that would make Mao, Stalin, Pol Pot, it would make them blush.
We remain committed to continue confronting those threats, both here in the United States and overseas. In this heightened environment, there's no question we're seeing an increase in reported threats, and we've got to be on the lookout, especially for lone actors who may take inspiration from recent events to commit violence of their own. So I'd encourage you to stay vigilant, because as the first line of defense, protecting our communities, you're often the first to see the signs that someone may be mobilizing to violence. I'd also ask you to continue sharing any intelligence or observations you may have, and on our end, we're committed to doing the same so that together we can safeguard our communities.
Texas Military Department says they are holding the line and will continue their operations inside here.
The standoff between the federal government and the state of Texas.
Razor wire remains up along the U.S.-Mexico border even after the Supreme Court ruling allowing federal immigration officials to remove it. Texas officials setting up more razor wire yesterday in Eagle Pass.
Border, Texas is upping the ante in its showdown with the White House over the flow of migrants into the state.
The terrorism threat has been elevated throughout 2023. The ongoing war in the Middle East has raised the threat of an attack against Americans in the United States.
I say frankly to the American statesmen, I warn, if the genocide in Gaza continues, they will not be spared from this fire.
But you are really not smart enough to know who I am. But soon you're gonna know who I am.
Right now we got my soldiers online on the sea wire, making sure that we are stopping them from entering illegally. I'm so proud of them. They're working hard, they're standing out there, they're showing force, they're not showing any weaknesses, and they're staying strong, and we're gonna continue patrolling out here and do what we do best. It's Texans serving Texans.